don't think we should ever leave.
What's up, everybody? And today we're talking about Send Help, which is the latest movie from Sam Raimi. If you don't know his name, you've probably seen some of his movies. He did the original Evil Dead movies. He's done the original Spider-Man trilogy. He did Multiverse of Madness, among some other movies, but I feel like those are probably like the biggest ones. And so this is his latest movie. And if you haven't seen the trailer, it is Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. And Rachel McAdams is playing like this pushover employee, and Dylan O'Brien is the new shitty young CEO. The two of them end up on a private jet, and it crashes, and they end up on an island together. Based off the trailer, things go wrong, I guess you could say, and the two kind of come to blows and seem like they're about to kill each other. And so I watched this movie. I was gonna originally watch it in theaters, but I was just way too busy, and it just didn't happen. And so I watched it on on demand where you pay for it. And so this movie is solid. I give it like a 7 out of 10. It's something to really write home about. I think the thing that makes this movie stand out is like definitely some of the shots are definitely like horror-esque. And just some of the things that happen in the movie are just like, oh, okay, this isn't, it kind of feels like originally you're like, oh, is this like a castaway? Are they going to fall in love? Blah, blah, blah. But then, there's some things that are like gross, and there's like some like thriller-esque parts of the movie. And the way that the movie kind of wraps up its ending, it does, it's like, okay, cool. Like, this isn't exactly what I expected. But I think the biggest problem with this film is that it feels like it wanted to be like a castaway, they're going to fall in love type thing. And then it somehow, like, I'm thinking about like a script, and it kind of transformed into this like thriller. But it didn't really do it well because there's a certain part of Rachel McAdams' character where it's just kind of like, how did we get here? Like, there was no kind of setup to her being a certain type of way. And I feel like the movie could have done that, and it just didn't do it. So I was like, okay, it just kind of feels like it's kind of like pushed in there just to make everything make sense. The two of them kind of keep coming to blows in the same way. And when things finally do kind of pop off, it is for a separate reason. And so it's like, well, why did we keep doing this over here over and over again if this thing over here was the thing that was actually going to get them to be against each other? And so when the movie's like, okay, we're doing this over and over again, and again, when the trailer's setting up like, hey, they're eventually, gonna probably try to kill each other, I spent like the first half of this movie being like, okay, when are we, get into the, not the good part, but you're like, when is the other shoe gonna drop? What are we getting there? And so I think that the movie is just like kind of disjointed almost, and it just isn't like, things are set up and then they're not really followed through on, and it just like, it's one of the things I feel like I always talk about on this channel, even though it's new and I really don't have that many videos. It's just like, there's so many things when I watch it and I'm like, I can see the vision. They just need a little more, like a little edit, and it would have been right there. Speaking of editing, there is one shot in this movie where they clearly were trying to do a specific thing, and it took me out of the movie because you can tell like everything is like on an island. It looks good. I'm like, I wish I could be on an island for like 2 weeks. Like, everything looks good when they're on the island, and then you just get this one shot where it looks like it is clearly on like a sound stage or like a green screen, and then they do whatever, the thing that they were trying to do, and it was like, ugh, like it felt so forced. And the thing is, like, the kind of setup to the thing that they were trying to do was actually better for the thing that they were trying to do, and so it's kind of hard to talk about without spoilers. But yeah, you just get that one shot and it's just like, oof, that did not look good. Should have cut that out. But yeah, I mean, still keeping this spoiler free, I just think there could have been a better setup and kind of lead into where the movie eventually ends, especially because I think all the pieces were there and they just didn't align them together. So a lot of things are just like not happening just to happen, but it's kind of like, they thought it's like, all right, we need to get to here. How do we get to here? But we didn't think about like how to actually connect the dots. It was just like, they just put points on a line and they're like, all right, and that's how we're going to get to this last part. I did like the ending. It did surprise me. And I was just like, oh, okay, I didn't expect it to end this way. I didn't know how they were going to, land this plane, but it was a solid ending. I think it did, catch me off guard. But again, the kind of way that the two of them kept clashing, and the Rachel McAdams like extra part of her character was just kind of like, what are we doing here? But I will say the two of them are perfectly cast. Like they work, they have the chemistry they need for this movie. So it's not like you're gonna be watching this being like, oh, these two like suck. It's just like the script and the plot of the movie that just didn't really do it for me. But again, this wasn't a bad movie. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. It's just something I'd watched and I'm just like, okay, like I don't really think I'll ever come back to it. Maybe if I wanted to show someone this movie, I might. But like, I don't even know if I'm gonna remember this in like a couple months. That's what I mean. Just kind of felt like a Sunday movie that I popped on. I was like, all right, cool. It was there. Last thing I'll say before I get into spoilers is that if you are sensitive to like certain scenes, like they'll make you queasy or whatever, there's like 3 or 4 things in the movie that I was just like, oh, okay, I didn't know we're gonna do that. So yeah, if you're one of those people, do not eat while watching this movie, because there's 2 scenes in particular I was just like, oh, okay. Granted, I was eating while watching this movie, but I can handle stuff like that. But I just want to put that out there before you pop this on and you're like eating a meal or having like a snack while watching this. Just be careful if you're sensitive to stuff like that. But yeah, I do want to get into spoilers, and I do have clips from the movie. So yeah, this is where it is your time to head on out. If you haven't seen this movie, go watch it, come back, let me know what you think. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm right, I don't know. But yeah, if you're gonna stay, whether you've seen the movie or not, we're going to get into spoilers in 3, 2. All right, so let's start with the ending, right? Her driving off and then like looking into the camera, I was like, okay, I didn't expect her to do that. I didn't expect the whole like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm the only one who survived, and now she's like, famous, and she got a book, and she's like living her best life. I was like, oh, okay. I legitimately didn't think the movie was gonna end on this type of note. So I was like, okay, I kind of like this. Her finding the mansion on the other side of the island, I was like, oh, okay. When she's just like, you see the scene where she's like chilling and she's like taking a shower and she's like eating food, like, oh my god, like real food, and just kind of like chilling while he's like, doing his thing on the other side of the island. I think it's funny. But when she was like, hey, don't go over there where the X is, there's like a bunch of like poison ivy and stuff like that. I was like, there's gotta be something over there. I was like, watch there be like a whole village just chilling on the other side of the island that they could have just like talked to. But I was surprised. I was like, oh no, she found even better, like a little penthouse just chilling there. Going into the ending, which goes into the part that I was talking about with Rachel McAdams' character, and the spoiler-free part of it was just like her being like, oh my god, like we could have been in love. I love you, blah blah blah.
You proved it yourself. We can survive. We have everything we need.
Yeah. That's what I've been saying.
I know.
There's nothing for us back there.
Well, I was like, where the fuck did this come from? Especially because the movie kept setting up like the two of them were going to like romantically have a thing, and then they don't. So again, the movie's just kind of like setting up things, and then it's like 0 payoff. And I think the movie was trying to like subvert expectations, but by not doing the thing that it was like leading to, it was just kind of like, you led me here, and then you just like sharp turned like this way, and it's just like, that doesn't make any sense. So I think a better way to have done this was, because we already got in the beginning that she loves Survivor, right? And she knows how to do, outdoorsy stuff. And she's lonely and she didn't get the job that she was looking for. So it's like, okay, cool. You have the power dynamic in the beginning when they get to the island, right? And then have the two of them fall in love, which it seemed like the movie was heading for. Have them be there for a while, really get to know each other. And then you can drop the shoe on him of like, hey, I got a secret to tell you. Promise me you won't be mad or whatever. And this is where, he could discover, or she can tell him, yeah, I found this penthouse on the other side of the island. And then, then they can come to blows because he's like, well, I'm going to get out of here. And she's like, no, you can't leave. Like, this is the perfect, don't you get it? It's like we're on Survivor, like we're, falling in love, blah, blah, blah. And then they could have came to blows because she wants to stay and he didn't. So yeah, I think that was there. So to have them not really have a relationship, because again, they keep hitting the same thing of like, he's like, oh, I don't need you. And then he can't do anything. And then she forgives him. And then we do it again. And then we do it one more time. I was just like, again, spinning our wheels here in this movie. I'm just like, I don't like, but the second time when he's like, I'm gonna build my own shelter and blah blah blah, and then she forgives him, I'm like, where are we going with this movie? Like, I feel like there's a good chunk of time that could have been cut from this movie if they were just gonna do the same thing over and over again. It did make sense to me when he like built the raft and he's like, I'm out of here, like fuck you, because she was like, wouldn't it be awesome if we like stayed here forever? And he was just like, oh hell no, I gotta get out of here. But I think for him to be like also like, oh fuck you, it's just like, that part felt weird just because it was like, she's been taking care of him, and again, we already did the thing twice where he's like, I don't need you, and clearly he needs her. So it's like, what are we doing here? I just don't understand how like no one like saw this and was just like, hey, we gotta switch things up. But that being said, when he did come back for the third time after he poisoned her, and she's like, oh yeah, I made you food, like whatever, yeah, you gotta, and he gets poisoned, she's like, I'm gonna cut your balls off, and then she's like, psych, it was just a rat, and she's like, but don't fuck with me, all right? I'm nice, but I ain't that nice, like you don't push. I'm like, I ain't a killer, but don't push me. I love that whole thing because it's like, first off, resonate with her, you know what I'm saying? Not with the whole like cutting his balls off thing, but like, hey, I'm nice, but don't get it twisted. I will turn on, I will turn the knob if I have to. And then, having consequences to, his actions of like, I'm out of here, fuck you, bitch. You know what I'm saying? I like that part, but then it was like, okay, well, the two of them, like, how are we gonna, get them to be at odds with each other? So for her to see the fiance and the guy and the captain of the boat, or whatever you want to call him, and then killing them, it was just kind of like, again, this is like this side incident that led to them falling apart when they kind of seemed like they were setting up something. And then they just didn't go anywhere with it. It's like, okay, they keep butting heads. But she's gonna murder his fiance. That's where we're gonna actually get into the nitty gritty. And it's like, well, then why do they keep butting heads? It just felt like you just needed to fill time. So that was weird. The scene where you do a little jump scare of her having the nightmare after she kills the fiance. That was the part where I was just like, they're clearly on a green screen. I don't know why they did it like that. That scene sucked. It wasn't scary at all. The scene that was scary was when the fiance is like covered in shadow and she's like crawling out of the ocean. Like, why did you do this to me? And clearly she's supposed to be like hurt. So she's like shambling, but she's like covered in darkness. And so I was like, oh, her face is going to like be illuminated in like the moonlight. And it's going to be like, this like half, like, like, deformed face, and then she's gonna wake up like, oh my god. And they did that terrible like CG scene, and I was just like, the scene was right there. All you had to do was walk past the finish line, but instead, again, you swerved for no reason. And so I just felt like, again, a lot of the time on the island was just like, how do we get from them being at odds to each other to then them wanting to kill each other, but they didn't like really plan out how to really get there. And again, I think the better thing would be like actually have them fall in love, and then her be like, psych, we could have left at any time, and then he would have been like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, and then she wouldn't want him to leave, and then they would obviously fight each other because they're at odds. She's crazy, he's now the sane one. But I think the other reason they wouldn't want to do that is because they clearly wanted you to, I guess, root for her in a way. And so yeah, I don't know. The other thing about this movie is it just felt like it was like trying to be a bunch of things. It didn't really nail it. It was like a little bit of Castaway, but it was trying to be kind of like like the Netflix series, and it wanted to be a thriller at the same time, and it was just like, none of these are really hitting, and so you have this like okay movie that could have just been really good. Speaking of the good stuff, though, again, this movie looks really good. The island looks good. The two of them are perfectly cast for their parts. It's crazy how in the beginning of the movie they made Rachel McAdams' character look like gross. Like usually, movies will take like a hot person, they'll put their hair in a bun and put some glasses on them, and like, oh look, they're ugly, nobody wants them. But like the makeup they put on her, the clothes they put on her, especially like when she's at home and her robe, and she just like did not look the way that we're used to seeing her. And so when she's on the island and she is like kind of the way that we usually see her, it's like, okay, that's the Rachel I know. Shout out to them for making her less attractive in the beginning of the movie. And of course, suspension of disbelief for this whole movie because their teeth are whiter than mine. Dylan O'Brien, even though he's like on the island for a couple weeks or something like that, has more muscles than I do. So stuff that you gotta look past. But I'm not gonna recap the whole movie, but yeah, I just felt like there was a better movie in this movie, and this movie was solid. I'm not mad that I watched it, but I am glad that I watched it at home as opposed to in the theater. Personally, I would say, well, I guess if you're watching this part, you've already seen this. I probably should have said this earlier. But I would say if you're going to recommend this to someone, I do recommend waiting for them to just wait till it's on streaming. I wouldn't tell them to pay for it. I just don't think the movie was that good. But again, it wasn't bad either. So, yeah, let me know what you think about this movie in the comments down below. Am I wrong? Am I right? What did you like? What didn't you like? All of that stuff. And until next time, peace.